if your employer matches 6%, then try and contribute 6% of your paycheck to that, to at least get that full benefit. And then if you can exceed that and get to the max each year, then of course do that. But for the most part, prioritize definitely getting that match from the employer.
Welcome to Wiser Retirement Podcast. Have you struggled to create financial habits that lead to long-term success? I'm Casey Smith. Today, I'm joined with Michaela Dowdy, superstar Michaela Dowdy. Each week, we bring you practical advice on retirement, investing, and planning for your financial future. Let's get started.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm great.
Over the Christmas spirit now? Are we into New Year spirit now?
I think we're into New Year's spirit, but I feel like getting off the holidays is always like a little bit of like a holiday hangover, just like all the emotions and all the family time and everything.
Right. Very true. So, but this is the time of year though, when people go, I'm tired of whatever. Usually it has to do with our weight and figure and all that stuff. And they start setting goals. And so each year we like doing little podcasts on how do you set goals. So there's lots of history of those. So I thought we'd start this New Year podcast, not quite the New Year, but close enough, with talking about 10 financial habits that can lead us to long-term success. And I'll say that it does take habits to lead to success for sure. But I will also say that success is very hard to measure when you're looking at someone from the outside.
Definitely.
Because just because you can make the payments doesn't mean that you're necessarily successful.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
I tell my kids about that all the time. There's rich people and then there's wealthy people. The wealthy people, you won't know it. And the rich people, if they lost a paycheck for 6 months or whatever, they'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
So you have to kind of take it all with a grain of salt. So
definitely,
you have done the research for this, and I'll let you get started. So once you give us, I guess we should have done it 10-1, but I don't know if they're in any particular order necessarily. So we'll just start with line item 1.
So first things first, and this kind of leads into our discussion of, vision casting, goal based, in that new year, is establishing your vision for the future. And I'm, one of those people that I host a vision boarding party every January. So
a vision boarding party.
Yes. I was literally getting texts this year because I was delayed in sending out my invitation to everyone like, hey, are you doing it this year?
So what was on your vision boarding party last year? Thanks for the invite, by the way.
Sorry. It's a girls only
party.
party.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's only for the girls. But yeah, so last year I did a bigger board than I normally do just because of what I had. So it was a lot, but
did you had a bigger board or you had more goals?
I had a bigger board.
Okay.
But essentially I love to do it because I feel like the boards are kind of magical because every time I've done one, I've accomplished like everything on it.
Magical boards.
They're magical in my opinion.
Do these come from Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Target?
I've had them from Hobby Lobby. I don't know where my current one actually came from.
Are these whiteboards or are these?
They're like cork boards.
Oh,
so
okay.
I have friends though.
So
that
it's
when
like
they
a crafting.
It's a crafting. It's like scrapbooking, getting in your craft girl era kind of.
Yeah, no boys there.
Moment. No boys there. They don't want to. They don't want the girly like. Yeah, no, they don't want to be there for that. They politely go to like a game or something.
Female goal setting only is basically what this is. Okay.
Yes, is what the party is.
I'm kind of picturing like
goal set.
An interior designer comes to our house and is going to remodel everything, and she has this board and then little pictures of this.
You got it.
It's not your actual what it's actually going to look like for you, but this is the vision. Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yes, exactly. So I'm the one that like I start scouring Pinterest like a month in advance of like going ahead and like brainstorming what my goals are and then trying to find pictures that articulate that goal. So like this year it was like passing exams were on there. So there's like a little fortune cookie that said you'll pass a hard test or something on it. And then there was, for like racing, I had different races that I wanted to go to. So like the Indy 500 was on there and like,
that's right. That's right. Formula One
was on there. Yeah. So Texas was on
there. Guys, she's taken right now, but for the right price, Formula One Formula One junkie here. So.
Yeah, Formula One, IndyCar, the whole thing. IndyCar, you can find me at like half the races most of the season. So I'm always there.
Okay.
But anyways, yes. So that was like my vision board this year, and it hangs up in my kitchen. So it's really funny when everyone comes over, whoever it is, they'll be like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's my vision board for the year." And they're like, "No way." And I'm like,
that's
yeah.
pretty cool because it's sort of like art, but at the same time, if you had a complete stranger over, they probably wouldn't say anything.
Yes,
and
exactly.
They would just see that there, and it's your goals, but they don't know it's your goals.
Yes.
So like, I was thinking you guys were like taking poster board like we used in elementary school and like writing goal 1, goal 2. That's my brain.
Yeah.
So yes.
I mean, you can use a poster board if you want. I have friends that they'll just come over with a poster board, but they'll still like deck it out with all pictures.
Yeah, but say they're still cutting stuff out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, got it.
But that all to say, establishing your vision's huge, and having it tangible in a way that you can see it really regularly is huge. And you don't have to have a vision board necessarily if you're not crafty of that sort, but just having your goals like regularly there and present and figuring out what your vision is. So it's like every year, it's great for us as a girl group to sit down and just think, what is my goal for the year? And what do I want to do? And what is my vision for the next 365 days, if not longer? You know, having your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. How do I get towards that 5-year goal this year? How do I work towards that 5 or 10-year goal this year? Like, what are my next steps that I need to do? And so that's really great for us. And that's something that going into your financial picture, you need to know what you want. And I think that's something that we talk about in meetings too with our clients as they come in, you know, wanting to know their vision or their mission statement, which I think is something that throws off all of our clients because they're like, what? Why do you want to know that?
Mission statements are so boring, but if you do it like the Donald Miller way, they're really good. I mean, yes. I would say if for most of our young clients, you know, their mission is to give their kids better opportunities than what they had, or create the best opportunities for their children while creating legacy experiences while traveling.
Definitely. Yes.
Like that's
exactly.
That's like 60% of the people
it really is.
That come through. And so what that does is it frames the conversations going forward.
Exactly.
So, hey, we want to move. Okay, great. You want to move, but do you want to move to a house so expensive that you can't hit your mission? Right.
Exactly.
So that's how it comes back into play. I think it's very different from the firms that just want to manage your assets and move on. Right.
Yes.
It's somehow getting to know a client but also taking that mission and putting on the 1-page plan, which is a summary.
Yes.
So at the end of the planning, you say, this is what our goal is. And something we revisit once a year. It doesn't sound as hokey as we're making it out to be, but it's not a cork board and pictures, but it's a verbal written version of that. Right.
Well, and I think even our 1-page plan kind of is our vision board for our clients.
Very true.
In a way, like that is their little snapshot vision board that they can look back on throughout the year and see what their action items were, where they were a year ago. For some of them, it's really wild to look and, you know, have them come in, especially after the returns we've had in the market this year, and see where their account values were last year on that 1-page plan compared to where they are this year. And just to see how they've grown, whether that is from investing more into those accounts or just natural market growth.
Sure.
It's been really great to just have those kind of conversations as well, because they are really able to see that snapshot in time each year, relatively close. So it is great to have that just tangible for you and to have it going into having your vision as you try and establish what you should have moving forward. And that kind of leads us into our next point of building a budget. And so if you know your vision, then you can know where to take inventory, like on your own life, of like figuring out exactly where you're spending your money, where your dollar's going, so that then you really do want to kind of analyze all of your expenses, you know, to make sure you are on track. Because I know I fall into the trap of the subscription junkie. Like, I'll start a free trial and
anybody with an iPhone,
literally, I wish there was just like an easy button that it was like, hey, we're charging you tomorrow as like a notification, cancel now.
Right.
And of course not. But,
well, some do. I feel like some do.
Some do.
In an email.
Yes.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yes.
What's really bad is when you have a family account and your kids are signing up for stuff.
I can't imagine.
I don't know how they do it because I'm supposed to be able to approve it first. Like, so in-app purchases always have to approve, but yet they sign up for apps that have subscription fees all the time. It's like mostly video editing, because all these kids
funny.
are trying to be
TikTok,
Instagram stars. So
I love it.
Have to watch that stuff.
They're on CapCut doing all the things. Right. That's hilarious. Yeah, but definitely like my thing this year that I really want to do, and I haven't done it yet, but is canceling all my subscriptions for the new year and then seeing which ones I go back to.
Yeah.
And so I just got a new phone like in November, and I had to start completely from scratch. So I didn't transfer anything because I went down in storage. So I couldn't transfer over my phone data. So like had to start over with all the apps and everything. And I've been like, this is so refreshing.
See, that's what I do when my wife is shopping
things.
And I'm just waiting most stores have gentlemen waiting areas.
Yes.
The ones odd chair in the corner. I sit there and I just start like a page one of my phone. I don't need that app. I'll delete it. I'll delete that. I'll delete that. I never quite finish. So it always gives me something to do while I'm waiting.
Oh, definitely. Well, I saw your LinkedIn post the other day that made me laugh that you were like, I've added X to my first page of my phone. That's right. And I was like, I never have used the first page of my phone. I'm like, this is so different way of like understanding your phone.
Yeah, no, all the important stuff's on the first page. And then I have a unique filing system. Okay. Right. But yes, if you're on X, I don't have any friends. Are you calling friends or connections? I don't know what they are.
What you call
but
followers.
Yeah, followers
I think
on
they're
X.
Followers on X.
But yeah, it's a great place to get news. But yeah, it's I chose the name Bullish Pilot. So it's BULL instead of an I, it's a 1.
Oh, she's the number one bullish pilot.
Yeah, bullish because like that's the market side, and pilot because I'm a pilot. So that kind of goes together. So yeah, if you're listening, you're on Twitter. Look me up. You probably won't see anything interesting. And nobody, I get 6 views. It's really pathetic.
Not you looking at the insights.
But I can post something to Facebook and get 100 comments and likes or whatever. But yeah, just don't have my people on X yet.
Yeah. You need to share the link on Facebook.
I might be too old for X.
No, that's funny. But all that to say, evaluate your subscriptions and see, where you're spending money that doesn't need to be spent necessarily, and like reducing just your overall unnecessary expenses that aren't working you towards your overall goal. Because there is so much money that can just be wasted on the different platforms that we have all in our lives now, especially with streaming services and everything like that.
Yeah, for our business owners too, go through your credit card statements and look for those unnecessary charges, because you might be signed up for something that you don't even know that you're signed up for. And then going through the bank statements, do we really need to have this subscription? There's so many things out there, AI especially, that can support businesses, and you try it and you think, yeah, I'm going to use this, and you don't really use it. You could probably find $1,000 a month if your business is large enough, and just stuff that creeps up. And then your next point here, I like this one. Think before you spend. So it's so easy, especially for successful families. They don't really have to think about $100 or $20 purchases. I've always told there's different levels of wealth. I think the first level is you can go to the grocery store and you just buy whatever you want, don't really care. And then the second level is going and eating out, and you don't really care what it costs. It just is what it is, right? And then I think the third level is when you travel, you don't even care. You just buy the first class ticket. You get to stay at the nice hotel. It is what it is. I'm not quite there yet. I don't feel like, because I do the first two, but I get to the third one and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Nope, we're right in the back.
Well, you have a lot of people though. Like,
that's true. That's true. We take 5 people across the country.
And then sometimes you're like the nice dad that like brings the friends.
No. Too. Well, it's not being nice. It's about survival. Because if you bring a friend, everyone behaves better because you have a stranger in the house, right? You
got to keep up.
You have a stranger in the Airbnb. You got to keep up the look that we're a happy family.
You can't let the travel stress get to you too bad.
It's when the same people keep coming and they feel like family, and then your kids start arguing with each other. That's when like, okay, we got to get a new friend.
Another friend.
Right.
That one can't come anymore.
Exactly.
That's funny. No, but definitely thinking before you spend, and like just going back to that, is it on track for your goals? Like thinking before you're doing that. And, definitely falling into that trap of just swiping the card and knowing that it'll go through is like such a blessing in so many ways. But it's also understanding that you do have a greater picture that you're working for and working towards. And so you do still want to be on track for that. And, you know, it is just thinking in line with that and making sure you're always working towards like those stepping stones. And also, of course, splurging in the ways that you can and that are working like within your budgeting overall.
Your stat here is very concerning. 82% of Americans have budgets, but 84% of the 82 say that they overspend regularly from their budget. So I feel like as having a good budget, everyone wants to be fiscally responsible, but no one has the willpower to actually follow the budget.
Exactly. Well, and I think the thing is that you have to be practical when you're building the budget. And I think a lot of times you have this aspiration and it's like, it's kind of like weight loss. You have this aspiration. I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the first month.
Yeah.
Which one is not healthy, but two, you like, it's also just not sustainable. And it's like, that's why so many people lose the weight loss regimen because it's not sustainable. And so it's something where when you are building that budget, you want to make sure it's practical and sustainable and it's analyzing your current expenses. So if that's looking at your credit card statement or your debit card statement, whatever you use, and saying, okay, practically I spend $400 on groceries a month.
Right.
I practically need to budget that because likelihood I'm not going to change that drastically or whatever it may be. And so it's just kind of planning for that and also knowing where you can make those cutbacks and be intentional about that in your budgeting. But for sure, like, I think that's where people fall into that trap of they sit down, new year, new quarter, whatever it may be, and set these great aspirational goals, but they're just a little too far-fetched for what they personally will be able to obtain and uphold.
That's kind of how we do financial planning. I mean, we could really stress a person out by saying, you got to be doing, you got to be maxing out your 401k. You got to be putting in $700 per child for college savings and 529. You've got 3 children, right? You need to be paying extra in your home to get it paid down by age 65. There's a million things we're all supposed to be doing. You have to break them up in chunks and prioritize. And this is one of those things where you have to create a realistic situation. We always want to give realistic advice.
Yes.
But you want to make sure you're giving yourself realistic advice or setting realistic expectations. It's kind of like me, right? I'm cutting out all sugar. You know how hard it is to cut out all sugar?
I did not know you were doing that.
Well,
That's
I did it.
So difficult.
I did it for a while because I had really bad blood pressure at one of my doctor's visits. It scared me. And then I dropped some weight really fast because I just cut out the sugar. But then over time you're like, oh, I'll just get one. I love pecan pie this time of year. So it's like, oh, my mom made a pecan pie or whoever made a pecan pie, right?
Then you get like that one taste.
You just get that one taste and you're right back and the weight comes right back. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to eat out. Well, that's probably not realistic this day and age, as fast as we move as families and all the things that our kids are doing. It's like, okay, you just know that you're going to have to do that. I go back to pay yourself first.
Yes.
If you know how much you need to be either depending on who we're talking to, eliminating debt, then you say, I'm going to apply X amount of debt. I'm not going to go into any more debt. And therefore I have to live on the remainder.
Yes.
And then you can force yourself to do that typically 18 months to get out of bad situations usually. And then if you just need to be saving more for your future self, that's real easy. Yeah. Because now you have excess money, but the money's going to be taken out first, your 401k, or then maybe an opportunity fund. It disappears. And then the rest of it, you just force yourself to live within those means as if that's all you've got.
Definitely.
So that certainly helps with thinking before you're spending because you're saving before you're even thinking.
Yes, exactly. And that kind of goes into one of our next bullet points, which is automating your savings.
Yep.
And, setting that up on an auto deposit. So like, that's personally how I have my account set up is that after the paycheck hits, it automatically saves into my brokerage account or whatever my emergency savings account is, those kinds of things, just to make sure that I'm already funding those right as soon as I've paid the rent and everything else. So then whatever's left over after like the second of the month is what I have for the month. Right.
Exactly.
And that way it's already just, if you don't have the money and you haven't seen the money, then you can't spend it.
Right.
Like, and it's there if you need it and it's a crutch to fall back on. If you have a crazy expense that, you need new tires for your car, whatever it may be, that you can pull that money from. But overall, like you've set up those auto deposits. So you've established what you need and you've paid yourself first so that then you can stress-free in a more stress-free manner, go out and go out to eat once or twice, however many times that you've allotted in your budget, and, do those things that you enjoy without having to have the stress of, oh, I really still need to save into my brokerage account this month, or I really need to save into my emergency savings this month, and I've just dwindled that down. So if you're doing that first right off the bat, then you definitely have a great opportunity for greater success. And that just going into for those expected expenses like cars and college, and if you're saving for a house like a lot of young people are, then that's something that you can go ahead and set up those auto deposits and start doing that early instead of, waiting till it's, right there at the time. And you're like, oh, dang, we're having to pay for private school, or, oh, dang, we need a new car. And it's like, oh, well, we could have saved for this 5 years ago, or as soon as we got the new car, saved for the next car. And so that does definitely come with your feasibility on how much you have at the end of each month. But there is just opportunities there to make sure that you're starting early and automating those savings from the get-go. Are you curious why annuities keep coming up as a potential investment option? People are often told that annuities can effectively mitigate investment risks and help secure their financial future. However, annuities often benefit the salesperson and might not be the best choice for you as a consumer. To learn more about the various types of annuities, the negatives of owning them, and better investment alternatives, we have a free ebook on our website just for you. To download our ebook, Buyer Beware, Why Do They Keep Trying to Sell You That Annuity? Simply click the link in the episode notes or visit wiserinvestor.com/guides. Now let's get back to the episode.
Which is a great segue into having an emergency fund. So, everybody talks about how much should you have 6 months to a year of expenses is what you want to carry. I think that equates to $50,000 to $100,000 for most families.
Yes.
You want to have about 50 grand as a reserve. Your stat here, 27% of adults have no emergency savings. That's bad.
I know.
That's May 2024. That's when that stat came out. So having an emergency fund is one. We missed one point, which I'll go back to, which is wealth is quiet. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. I think this is really important. Is it just stay in your lane. It looks like someone else is doing great. I've had so many young people over the years ask me, they say, I see these people and they have these big houses and they have these fancy cars. And it's like, I just don't think I'm doing that great. I'm doing something wrong. And they might be making $200,000 a year. And it's like, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that they're just fully extended.
Yes.
So don't try to chase somebody and then you end up going off a cliff with them.
Yes.
Just stay in your lane, do your thing, focus on your long-term success. Dave Ramsey has a saying, what is it? Act like no one else today so you can be like no one else tomorrow. And that's so true, because you just think of all these situations, but you don't know what's happening. Or it could have been something that they were blessed with a large inheritance early, or, they had help, or there's a trust fund, or you don't know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. Bottom line, you do you.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And you just never know what's going on behind the scenes. There's so many people and overall that just come in, whether it's here or you just hear stories and talk to them personally of they're going on these lavish trips, buying the, best designer handbag or watches, all that. And then in reality, they're, stifled by credit card debt and are really broken on the inside for, trying to figure out and just really feel hopeless in their debt. And so it's something that you wouldn't trade your safety net and all of that to feel, the burden of that. So you just never know what someone's walking through in that. And everyone can put on a face. I mean, if anything, we've just seen social media has shown us, how easy it is to have the fake allure of, indulgence and all of the just
I don't know too many people on social media that say, man, didn't get my bonus this year, or man.
Exactly. It's a highlight reel. And that's the thing. And I think that's where,
I always get concerned about people that say, look at my new car. I'm like,
yes.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that's the highlight reel. And that's where everyone's just posting their greatest success. But I think also in the same token, it's because it's everyone's highlight reel, you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
And anyone can put out the image that they want online, and to not get bogged down by that and to feel like you're behind. Everyone's in different boats overall. So definitely, like, wealth is more quiet. And it's kind of like what you were saying. And maybe you said this yesterday when we were talking about this, but you're going to see the wealthier people are driving the Toyotas that they've had for 10 years. They're not driving the newest Mercedes necessarily.
No. There's actually studies about that most millionaires, even multimillionaires, the number one car was like Toyota. Next one's like Honda. Now could have been the Toyota Land Rover. Who knows? But still, it's not as flashy as you would think.
Yes.
Actually, BMW was pretty high up on the list. I saw that, but BMW has many different price points too. So
definitely.
But no, it's not the Mercedes was even up there.
Yes.
It wasn't on the list.
Exactly.
Actually. So.
And it's just they're making those decisions to make sure that they're financially, stable, and that they have the longevity of the car. And not to say that Mercedes wouldn't have a longevity in a car, but like they're making to make sure that they're making decisions that are reliable for them. And there is like the long standing
it's also putting your money where in assets that grow.
Exactly.
So it could be that they have a really large home, but most likely that home is going to increase in value, not decrease, as long as you can take care of it, right? Or multiple properties, or storage units seem really popular these days. Things like that. Yes. I like number 7, avoid debt. I think that this should be something that we just ingrain into our young people right now. Is you've got to avoid payments. It's people are still slaves, millions. We have more now than ever, and trillions of dollars in credit card debt. That's not getting paid off.
Definitely.
That people are spending 17% or more interest on, right?
Yes.
And one of the things back in 2020 was like, people need access to loans and just banking type services more. And maybe that's a real thing. I didn't see any study that said you couldn't get access to that necessarily. But I would say a cash system is way better than having to get loans.
Yes.
So I just, especially predatory lending, I see that the it used to be pawn shops, but now there's just like cash now, which is predatory lending. There are government controls on that, but that's like the dark side, I think, of all this. We don't really end up talking to clients that are in any of that. Honestly, you don't come to a wealth management firm typically if you have those kind of loans or debt, right? Fair. But the point is just, if you can help give someone a leg up, do it. But if by maybe crafting a business deal or something like that to help them, that's one thing. But you have to stay away from debt. It just I just hate it with cars. Cars are so expensive now. Definitely. But really hate it with cars because that's a losing asset. If you could drive a smaller or a cheaper car, but you could put more money into your house, that's a better investment, quite honestly.
It is. No, and I remember there was this trend on TikTok. I'm showing my younger generation here, but there's a trend on TikTok like 6 or so months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, where it was people like talking about their cars. They're like, I'm paying $1,000 a month for a car because I had to have, this feature. I had to have these heated, cooled seats, and I felt like I needed this kind of color of a car, all this stuff. And it was like they were saying it funny, but then they were also like, no, actually don't do what I did. Oh. And it was just such a fascinating trend because some people were taking it in stride and they're like, yeah, paying, $800 a month because I wanted pink lights in my car, and they would laugh about it. But then there was also the other turn of it where there were other people being like, no, this is like, don't do it. Yeah. And I think that's something that it like can seem like we're saying, having
or fix the old car you got, just keep fixing it. Right.
Keep fixing that car.
So you can buy something else.
Yes. And just making it affordable, because even if you are going to have a payment on some things, you can't pay cash because you are younger, then it's something where make sure that's a reasonable payment. No car payment should be $1,000 plus a month. Like that's just, even in today's market, I don't think if that's not something you can afford, truly.
Yeah, we have a new employee here at the office looking for a car.
Yes.
Her budget's $21,000. And I was looking last night actually for her. And I was thinking, wow, you can actually find some really decent cars for $21,000.
You can.
There's a lot to choose from. There's some Volkswagens. There are a lot of Hyundais, not too many Toyotas, unless you would go with the Corolla, but I'm an expert in this now all of a sudden. But yeah, there's a lot of reasonable cars that you would not be embarrassed to drive.
Yes.
In that price range.
No, there definitely is. And so there's a price point for everyone there. And I think the big thing for young people too is just not getting caught up in the credit card hype. And I say that to myself as well, that there is so much talk about, getting the credit card points, doing that. But when we're talking about paying yourself first, you have to know how much is left in your bank account at the end of the month.
Right.
Like after you've spent on that day, day 2 of the month, whenever it is that you've put all your expenses out, you need to know how much you have, because the credit card bill is going to come due.
Right.
And it's like, and I think that's where a lot of people get trapped, is that they somehow, just spent over $200 more than they should have one month. And it's like, oh, well, now I'm pulling from my savings because wait, what? And right. It's like having that where it's like that quick of a slope, and it's that quick to just somehow get off target that quickly. And then you're like, oh, well, I need to pull out of this. And now I've had this unexpected expense. And then you're all of a sudden you're thrown off your course. And so it's just being smart with that and understanding how much you actually should be charging on the card. Because as a young person, most of us don't have, the leeway to just run up the tab on the credit card and know we can pay it off,
Right.
So just to be careful with that. And I feel like that's where I found a lot of like the younger generation struggle, because you want all the credit card points and you hear all the benefits of credit card points. And don't get me wrong, I went to Austin fully paid for because I had credit card points. It's amazing. Right. But it's also, trying to find that balance of, being smart with that and not overextending yourself, because credit card debt is consistently going up. And like, we've even seen it go up as, close as like September 2024, the stat was that an average credit card debt was $7,200 that was getting rolled over each month. And so that's doesn't seem like a ton in the grand scheme of like trillions of dollars we talk about in debt, but that's a lot for an average person to have.
Well, that also, you apply that to the average income of household income, which is around 60 grand. That would be a big chunk.
Yes.
To tackle. Right.
Exactly.
So let's look at point number 8 you have here. Take advantage of employer benefits. So tell me exactly, because we know that there's like an order to this. We want to have eliminate debt. We want to build emergency reserves, which we've talked about. You want to then start, saving for retirement.
Definitely.
So I'm assuming 401k benefit would be something you're talking about.
Yes, of course. So your 401k match is huge. So we want to make sure that we're accommodating that and getting at least the match. Even if it's your first job and, have a little bit of flexibility to save, then go ahead and try and get to that employer match at least. So if your employer match is 6%, then try and contribute 6% of your paycheck to that, to at least get that full benefit. And then if you can exceed that and get to the max each year, then of course do that. But for the most part, prioritize definitely getting that match from the employer. And then looking into, a lot of employers offer health savings accounts as well. And so making sure you're contributing there, or at least having it open so that the employer can contribute. I know sometimes it kind of depends on your employer if you have to contribute for them to contribute or what that looks like. But definitely going ahead and having that open, because that is a triple taxed savings account, and there's more and more things getting added regularly to what you can use a health savings account on too. We would love for you to grow that as well, but definitely when you're younger, when you do have little expenses here and there on your insurance, because a lot of us will have, that higher deductible, just because you're not going to the doctor as much potentially. Yeah. And so definitely utilizing your HSA for any unexpected expenses is great. And also trying to get that growth as well while it's there. And so definitely prioritizing those two. And then the one thing that a lot of employers also have is a legal benefit. So establishing your estate planning, like your will, your power of attorneys, medical directives, you can do that sometimes through your employer, especially if they're a bigger corporation. A lot of them, will allow you to opt into a legal benefit. And so we have a lot of clients that they'll use their legal benefit, whether it's like through Home Depot, Cisco, Delta, whoever.
That's creating wills, power of attorney, medical directives.
Yes. Right. And so
for free.
Exactly.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. I think it's like a little amount out of your paycheck, but not near as much as it would be to actually go out to a local attorney and get that done. And a lot of them do have local attorneys you can partner with to get that. So definitely just taking advantage of those. And then life insurance, especially if you have like a pre-existing condition, you can get in on those group term policies sometimes without like having to do a lot of the underwriting, and still get it a little more for your coverage compared to even what the basic life insurance would be for an employer. So definitely just looking into those opportunities and making sure you're taking advantage of all of those is huge.
So thinking about these 8 points, you have share your vision. So who are we sharing our vision with?
So this is kind of a personal preference, because we talked about this earlier, where it's really, you want to share your vision to have accountability. Yeah. And it's something that sometimes, you know, if it is something where you're trying to get out of debt, you don't want to share that with everyone and their mother. It's something where you really want to keep that between you and your spouse, or you and like a really close friend. And it's just making sure that you're sharing your goals, because when you get to have your friends come alongside you and root for you, or your close family come alongside with you, it changes the game genuinely. And it makes it so much more encouraging. And when you do hit hiccups, they're there to pick you up and encourage you. And so that's something that you really just want to share your vision, because then you have someone you almost have that accountability with them, and you're also wanting to make them proud. And you're like, hey, I've shared with you that I have all these goals for 2025. And I want you to check in with me, and they'll check in with you. And then it's like, you want to be able to say, yeah, I'm on track. You don't want to have to, do I decided I wanted that new handbag from Celine. No, like you get to decide, and it's really having those friends and family that can come alongside you is massive, and to have just that shared vision. And then it creates just a great foster of like having those great conversations with one another of goal setting. And then your whole friend group is on track for setting goals, and it just makes a whole different dynamic.
So your generation seems to be more willing to do that. I would say that my generation, maybe somewhat, tend to be still somewhat private about finances. My parents' generation, absolutely. And my grandparents, they would just never talk about that. But I would say at a minimum, you want your spouse taking this journey with you. Occasionally we have people that come in and want to do planning, but it's just me. Not the spouse. And you're like, you really want to do this journey together, because if you're gonna do something tough, it's hard to have someone pulling in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's like you go farther together than you ever will alone. And so it's just knowing that having a good team beside you is massive.
A lot of times finances are a sore spot with married couples, but it doesn't have to be. Exactly. It's sometimes having us as mediators in the conversation helps people understand when we can explain things differently, and we're not emotionally involved either. So that
exactly having that third party, and then it's like you're just able to go through everything and have that mediator that's huge for clients, and to really just take it away from not everything's a mountain, and sometimes just because of the emotions that are attached to it, it gets made a mountain when it's really just like a little molehill that we can work over.
That kind of goes along with our point number 10 too, check-ins.
Yes.
So you can't set this stuff now and then by the end of March not have revisit it. Definitely.
And it's huge to just sit down regularly. And even if it's just you sit down annually to really do the vision casting, but try and make sure you're sitting down monthly, if not quarterly at least, to go through and see where you're on track. And make sure you are, working towards the goals that you have set, because it's so easy to, set that goal at the beginning of the year and then not touch it for the rest, have it for, what is it that you like when you set a goal, it's like after, if you can get through the first 20 days or something, then you're on track for the year.
Yeah. 30 days of working out or something along those lines.
Yes. It's something, but like most goals end by like the 12th day of January and don't get touched. So it's just something that you really want to make sure that you are standing beside your goals and that you're on track for those. And you can make this fun. Like I know I've had friends that they've had it to where they don't meet monthly necessarily because that was too much for their family.
Right.
But doing it quarterly, and they make it a fun date night. Like they'll go out to dinner, they'll have a couple glasses of wine, and they'll talk about it. And they'll talk about, hey, like you had this goal set. where are you at? Like if it's a work career goal, or, hey, where are our finances at now? Like, and it's just something that, especially now that you can carry your accounts basically in your back pocket, you can discuss that at a, dinner, and it's just making it fun. Or if it's like, you don't have a spouse, but you have a best friend that you've let in on your financial picture, then having a fun night with them, and you get to, goal cast together and make sure you're both supporting one another in that way. So it doesn't have to be this grudgy thing that just feels awful to do. It can be fun and exciting to sit down and see where you're at.
Thank you, Michaela, for putting all this together. We have other podcasts related to goal setting. Episode 238, instant gratification running your financial goals. Episode 221, how to prioritize financial goals. Episode 200, setting and achieving financial goals in the new year. That was probably our one from last year, if I had to guess. Related YouTube videos we have a YouTube channel, A Wiser Retirement. Tips for sticking to your financial goals and 6 habits of financially successful people are all things that you can watch there. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or want to schedule a consultation, meet with one of our fiduciary financial advisors, you can do so by going to wiserinvestor.com, or you can click in the link in the episode notes. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.